Welcome to Evaluating AP Automation, Manual, External, and Native, an expert practices presentation brought to you by the Controllers Council. My name is Neil Brown, Executive Director of the Controllers Council. And before I introduce our expert speakers, let me share some brief housekeeping items. This webinar is eligible for CPE with 4 polling questions. So please answer each poll for CPE or to benchmark your peers. Also regarding CPE, you'll have a quick survey at the end of the presentation, so please complete. Next, we'll have Q&A at the end of the presentation, so use your GoToWebinar control panel to ask our experts questions. And finally, you'll receive a link to this webcast via email in the next 24 hours, so no need for notes or screenshots. And I'm very pleased to introduce our partner and sponsor, Charted, which clears the path for finance teams with AP automation solutions built directly into your NetSuite environment, providing real-time clarity on every invoice, approval, and payment. Eliminate manual data entry with AI-powered capabilities and automation designed to accelerate your month-end close. Enable the most complex approvals and global multi-entity workflows. Charted was born from years of hands-on implementation and consulting expertise, bringing you a one-stop shop for everything NetSuite. Learn more at charted.com. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our speakers.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Neil. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. All right. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Really appreciate the time today. Very, very excited to spend the next 55 minutes or so with everyone here on the phone as part of this webinar. The topic for today is evaluating AP automation and looking at 3 different paths: manual, external, or native. We're going to get into the details of this. We're going to talk about NetSuite. We're going to talk about cluttered architecture, what that means, and we're going to talk about, of course, AP. All right, so we have a packed agenda for the next 55 minutes or so. Uh, we have really 3 goals in mind for this session. First, we want to make sure that we talk about what is the right architecture when thinking about AP automation. What does a cluttered architecture look like, and what are the things that need to be considered as we think about the future of AP at your business? The second big goal is we want to make sure that we lay out the different paths that are available when it comes to automating accounts payable in NetSuite. And last but not least, we want to make sure that we give you as much information and resources as possible so that you can take the next step within your company to try to automate as much as possible within NetSuite. And of course, we're going to have some key takeaways. Stay tuned. There's going to be some downloads available for resources we're going to be providing. And of course, we're going to do some Q&A with everyone. So, all right, let's get started. Very excited to do introductions. I do have Joe Alie with me, so I'll turn it over to him in just a second so that he can do introductions himself. My name is Bernardo Enciso. I am the founder and CEO of Charted. I've been doing ERP related things for my entire professional career, which is about 20 years. First 10 years I spent as a ERP consultant, so I've seen all kinds of implementations and products out there. And then the last 10 years running Charted, which is a NetSuite native AP automation solution, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about us as we go through the presentation. And then, of course, with me, I have Joe Alie, our CFO. Joe, I'll turn it over to you so that you can do a quick introduction.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Joe Alie, CFO here at Charted. I've been at Charted for just over 2 years, and I've spent the last several years in CFO and finance leadership roles Before that, I worked in technology investing, where I had the opportunity to evaluate and work with finance organizations across a wide range of companies. So, throughout my career, I've managed AP teams operating at every stage of the maturity curve that we'll be discussing today. So, anywhere from those highly manual processes built around email and Excel to external AP automation platforms, and now an embedded ERP native solution here at Charted. So, look forward to sharing those experiences during the call and helping provide a more practical framework for evaluating where your AP process is today and where it can maybe go next.
Thank you, Joe. That's fantastic. All right, let's get started. We have a lot to cover, and I want to start with an idea. And this idea is that business outcomes start with the right architecture. So Joe and I were thinking about how to kick things off in a fun way, and we thought of maybe using a fun and funny Dilbert comic strip. When it comes to business architecture and systems architecture, there's a lot of information out there. Everyone claims to be an expert. Of course, there's AI, there's all these sources of information that are out there. We're going to do our best today to try to be as helpful as possible, share our experience, share what we're seeing out there that we believe will be helpful for you to think about the path to get the most out of your AP processes. But one recommendation that I have after today, the best thing that you can do is speak with your peers. Of course, I want you all to trust me and listen to what I have to say. And we really think we're going to add a ton of value today. But the best thing you can do, I know the audience here is controllers and finance professionals. Speak to your peers. What are they going through? What are the things that are problems for them? How have they solved some of those problems? And you'll be surprised, number one, how they probably facing similar issues. Number two, if they've solved those issues, how have they done it? And you'll get some good pieces of information. So I think that's a great way to kick things off. But let's define, what do we mean by the right architecture when it comes to a business process, specifically accounts payable? So just to level set, when we say system architecture, we're really talking about the intentional design of where work happens, where data lives, and how all that information flows between systems in order to support a business process for your organization. So, a very straightforward definition. And in the context of accounts payable, it is really how you and in what system, number one, onboard and manage your vendors, which is a really critical part of the business process. Number two, capture, manage, and process your vendor bills. And this is where you can cut a lot of inefficiency and a lot of manual work down to basically nothing. How you match and approve your bills in the system with a full audit trail. And then last but not least, how you pay your bills and how you accrue your expenses at the end of the month. So, as we go through the rest of the conversation, keep these things in mind because we're going to talk about architecture. We're going to talk about where you go in the system to do some of these things. And this is really what we mean, and this is the basis for the conversation today. All right, so we do want to make this very, very interactive. This is the first poll that we have for the session today. And I'm going to turn it over to Neil so that we can run the poll.
All right then. Where does the majority of your AP workflow reside? So take a few moments, please. All answers are confidential and anonymous. And if not, CPE to benchmark your peers. And we will share the consolidated results so that you can get a feeling for that. And I'm sure these answers tie in with Bernardo's and Joe's presentation. A few more seconds, please. And let's take a look at results. All right, leading is primarily manual paper-based for 23%, but right there, split between NetSuite and a platform using API connectors at 22%. 14%, a healthy number, entirely in NetSuite, and 41% other or not sure. Any thoughts on these results, Bernardo or Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Not surprised to hear that there's a bit of a split. And that's actually a really great segue into the next part of the presentation. So Neil, if you're all set with the poll, I'm just going to keep going through the slides.
You got it.
Thank you. But yeah, the split is typically what we see. Some folks have processes broken out into multiple systems. Some folks have and try to really make a conscious decision to try to unify as much as possible into a single system. The reality, though, of where we live and the time that we live in is that there's a lot of systems out there, and companies do their best to try to consolidate as much as they can. But as companies evolve, as you go through your journey as an organization and some of your needs become more complex and more sophisticated, you can very easily fall in the trap of having something like what you see on the screen, which is a very cluttered system architecture. And just for the record, all the companies that you see here in the slide, they're very reputable companies. This is nothing against them. The point that I'm trying to make is that this is a very common problem that people face. And as we go through the rest of the presentation and we talk about some of the paths for AP automation, this becomes really, really relevant because a lot of clutter creates inefficiency, creates issues with reporting, and then rising maintenance costs. So just keep this in mind as we go through the next few slides.